The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sister Speak. Join here with me, Fadeen.
Me, Lamisa.
Me, Sonia.
And me, Mariam.
Before we start, I just want to say Ramadan Mubarak because this is the first show into the week of Ramadan. So before we get started, Lamisa, do you want to tell us what our show is about?
Yeah, so our show is a platform for Muslim girls and women to voice their own opinions on current events and various different issues. We just want to let you all know that all opinions and views are our own, and we respect all other similar or opposing views and opinions.
Yep, thank you for that. We just want to let you guys know that this is a pre-recorded show. So if you don't want to get in touch with us, how can you do this, Mariam?
So because this is a pre-recording, you can message us on Facebook, Inspire FM, or you can message us on our Instagram at Sister Speak.
So our main topic for today is reflections on relationships because it is the month of Ramadan. So it is a month full of reflection, self-purification. So we're going to be talking about this in the second half of the show. But for now, we're just going to do our segment called Thought of the Week, where we just talk about anything random, anything that we've thought during the week. So I'm just going to start with Lamisa because it's been really long. She's been here. So Lamisa, would you like to tell us what your thought of the week is?
Yeah, I think it's similar to another time when we had a pre-recorded show here. I was saying how thankful I was for being busy. I think I'm trying to get that attitude back because frankly, I feel like I've been so busy these days and like I haven't had a chance to like rest. But when you kind of don't inflate it in your head, it makes it a lot easier to deal with everything that is going to happen in the day. I feel like, you know, when you feel like you have so many things to do in the day and you wake up in the morning, you just don't want to leave your bed because your bed is so comfortable and you can just chill there. But yeah, if you try and almost minimize the situation a bit and be like, actually, you know what, it's just a few things to do in the day and there's 24 hours in the day, so there's loads of time that I can like rest and relax when I want to, then it actually makes it easier to kind of be like, okay, I can go and take on my day now. So yeah, that's my thought for the week.
Yeah, that's really good. What would you say motivates you to like come out of bed?
That is a good question. Wow, Fareed. Wow, we love it. What motivates me to get out of bed? I guess on a simple level, I have to do the things that I've been asked to do. Because if I don't do them, they don't get done. And there's a lot of people that, you know, that I have a lot of responsibilities. Other people's day might get affected because of what I do. So I can't let that happen, firstly. And secondly, I think these are things that I've all decided to do from my own choice to develop myself. So what's the point if I just run away from it because it's too much for me in the moment or I'm not feeling it in the moment? In the long run, these are all things that I've decided to do, and I know they're things that I enjoy. It's just a momentary second of I just want to sleep for a second, you know? So it's that type of thing of these are things that I've decided to do, so you know I should go out and do them because I know they're good for me in the long run. So yeah,
that's really good. I love that thought of the week. Any thought?
So I want to say that my thought of the week is going to be a copy and paste of Lamisa's one, but only because it resonates with me so much. Like, I have to remember that all of this busyness that I'm going through now is what I wanted and it's what I've chosen. But like I was telling you guys earlier, like when I left the house today, my dad literally said, Sonia, your weekdays and your weekends is all the same all the time. You're always doing something. But it made me realize that the stuff that I want to do most is usually the things that I am volunteering for. So even for example, radio right now, like it's a choice to be here. It's not like a necessity. And it, like Lamisa, you were saying, like if I don't go, it affects someone else. This doesn't necessarily, like the show can go on, but it's something you want to be part of. And I think that's really nice. So I think my thought of the week is a little bit about just remembering why you've chosen certain things, and that busyness, that exhaustion, it's for a reason, and I'm grateful for that as well. That's my thought of the week.
That's really good. Were we talking about in the last show about the thing that I said was like being fun busy and boring busy?
Yes, exactly. And this is fun busy, and usually working like a job is boring busy.
Can I just say the show can't go on without you? Let's just,
let's just say that. I know, but you guys hold it down, you know, like we have been. So But yeah, it's definitely one of those fun, busy things. And I just think of the time, like, even literally all the way back to year 11, so after school finished, I would say that summer, even though you get to, like, you see your friends and you might go out with your family and so on, like, I was technically doing nothing. There's no studying, there's no, it's just a summer break. And at that age, obviously, you don't really have much money or access to go places. But I remember thinking that I don't want to be like this bored ever again. Like, I actually remember it because my sister's that age now, so I look at her and I'm like, I remember being that age, and everything just seems so, like, it feels like you can't do anything. It feels like there's things that you're missing out on, and now it's like the flip side of that. So I need to remember, like, 16-year-old Sonia would be dying for this right now. So yeah,
that's really great. Mariam, what's your thought of the week?
So my thought of the week is kind of similar in respect to the Mises and Sonia's, but mine is about creating discipline. Again, when you start something or you commit to something, it's really difficult to sustain that. So for me, I think one thing I've spoken about this before. When I try to do something, I think I give all my full 100% to this one thing, and then it's not sustainable. So I feel like now I've come to the point where even if I'm not doing things consistently and I take a break, I'm still going to go back to it, and even it's just one step, because before I used to be the type of person is to work in binaries, whether I do 100% or 0. If I didn't do the 100%, I'll just stop that thing completely, which I don't think is the best way, or it's not the most effective thing to do. So for me, I think this year I'm really learning to just allowing myself, if I do fall into a trap of having a long period of time of not doing anything, it's okay to just take a step back and think about, okay, why do I want to do this? Rethink about my purposes, and then take one step again, because I think that's the hardest thing, just taking that one step.
Yeah, that's really good. I think I agree with you, because if you can't give, you have to be realistic about this, and you can always give. If you can, then that's great, but giving your 100% to everything is really hard. Lamisa, do you have any thoughts on Mariam's?
I agree. I think that's some really useful advice, because a lot of us, without even realizing, we do try and go all in on the things that maybe we're super passionate about, and we're like, yeah, this is it, and you don't even realize that you're giving 100. But what that does is it means either you can't sustain it for a very long period of time because it's a small burst of energy, or it drains from everything else that you're doing. So it's important advice to kind of keep in mind and go forward, that actually, you don't have to go 100 for everything, kind of go 75, go 60 sometimes. It's okay, as long as you can keep it going and do what you enjoy, I guess.
Yeah, little steps go a long way.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to my thought of the week, which is a bit different from you guys. So a couple shows back, I think I said that I just was enjoying being by myself and being, not socializing at all. And I was talking about it with my other friends, and they're in kind of the same position, and we were just discussing about the fact that because of this stage, we're like maturing a little bit, and you're going out into the real world. So we're finishing our A-levels, we're going to go to uni, we're going to be more independent. So I think because we're so scared about it, then we're not trying to socialize, we're just so stressed about it that we're like in our own world, and we're liking it. I honestly, not socializing for me these days has been so good. At college, I just sit there and I'm just by myself, stressing about everything that I'm doing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so you know how you mentioned you guys are maturing and growing up and so on. I think it's nice that you said that, but doesn't mean that you should socialize less either, by the way. Because you're going to miss those days when it's so easy and convenient to see your friends. But on the flip side, it's really good that you're kind of, getting used to just managing your social battery, I would say, because I feel like a lot of the times when we're young, we feel like we have to be active all the time in terms of like friendships and socially. Well, you don't. Absolutely, you don't have to be. But yeah, that's definitely something. It's good that you're managing it at such a young age, that you've already kind of had that reflection.
But also there are going to be times when you mature that you will just be by yourself. And actually that the kind of transition from being around people that you see every day and you have done for so many years to suddenly being in a position where actually the people that you do see regularly, it's not as regular as every day, and there are more times when you're by yourself. So learning how to kind of cope with that and deal with that is a really good thing as well.
Yeah, maybe I'm just in my antisocial era, and it's just a
discovering yourself.
So we don't really have a hot topic this week, but Mariam did bring questions from Freshly Grounded. So I'm just gonna ask you these questions, guys. They're just random things that I picked out from the box. So the first question is, do you find it easy to apologize? So let's start with Mariam.
I think I over apologize. I think I can see Lamisa curling back in her chair. I'm interested to hear what she has to say. But I think for me, it's I do feel like I find it easy to apologize because I just think about the consequences of not apologizing. And I watch a lot of Islamic talks, and I know that if someone holds something against you and you didn't apologize, then when you pass away, I just feel like that person's going to hold me to ransom in Jannah, and I'm not going to enter it. So I think really, like, holistically, I'm like, okay, well, is it worth it? Is it worth holding this back or just apologizing? And it's really uncomfortable. Sometimes it is really uncomfortable to apologize, especially when you feel that you've been the one that's been affected, and they're not taking accountability for their mistakes. But I feel a lot better when I apologize because I feel like I've closed a chapter, whether or not the other person hasn't. That's nothing to do with me, but I feel like between me and Allah, I've done what I can do the best, and I reflect on that moment, and then I try to make sure that I don't put myself in that situation again.
That's great. I think apologizing, some people relate it a bit to being weak, but apologizing is nothing to be weak of. It's something to be obviously proud of. And I just want to say, my Quran teacher did say, like you said, apologizing and owning up to your mistakes, it is really good to in Allah's eyes. Lamisa, do you want to answer this question?
My reaction was just because it's such a deep question. I think that when I am wrong and I realize that I am wrong, I find it a lot easier to apologize. Whereas if I feel like I'm in a situation where I am not wrong, I feel like, you said that you still find it okay to apologize and like you find closure. I think that's really good. I find it so difficult to apologize in those types of situations because from my perspective, if I haven't done anything wrong, I'm not going to say sorry for it. I don't know if that's always a good thing.
I'm kind of similar like that.
Yeah.
So I kind of can back you on this.
Yeah, I feel like though, as I've grown older, it's more like you don't necessarily have to say sorry, but I think it's more about the closure aspect of it. And I think for you, apologizing helps you find that closure. Whereas for me, it's like, if I'm not in the wrong, I can't get that closure until that person has apologized. So I don't know. And it's kind of like, it's hard for you to like wrap up the feelings and move on when the chapter isn't closed. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've taken it in a different direction, but yeah.
I think accountability is very important. So recently, someone at work said something and it wasn't like horrible. Like but I kind of I was like, okay, I'm not going to speak to this person because I'm not happy with what they've just said. But then it became a small thing and someone else pulled them up on it because they noticed it and they were like, look, I think you should say sorry to Sonia. And they did. And you know what? It helped us move on straight away. So I liked that they apologized because straight away, now we're okay. We'll talk as normal again. Yeah. And I'm thinking if they didn't apologize, then maybe there would have been that barrier because I'd still have that animosity. Yeah. So I think apologizing is good in that sense. Like if you feel like you want to wrap something up, close it, move on, then apologize. But at the same time, like if it's with my siblings, we don't necessarily say sorry. We kind of just move on sometimes. So it really means like it's just what you mean by apologize, I'd say.
And I think it also depends on the people. If it's in a professional environment, definitely. I think it's like somewhat you have to own up to whatever you've done because it's a professional environment.
It's
accountability and you have to take that on and you have to move forward. I feel like when it's more like personal relationships, it's a bit more blurry almost.
I saw this quote and it said, I forgave you so we don't have to meet in front of Allah. So I think that kind of relates to what Mariam was saying too. Like you need to have that forgiveness so that they can let go of it, you can let go of it, and it's not something, that you guys have held on to.
I really like that you... Oh, sorry, Mariam.
No, I was going to say that it doesn't necessarily mean that you forgive someone. If someone really has harmed you or hurt you, then you just leave it to Allah. That's what I think. You just leave it to Him. And I feel like there's a balance. I think both perspectives, you should be able to use it and apply it in certain situations. So if you haven't done anything wrong and you don't want to apologize, that's completely fine. And I think I wish I could do that in more situations, because that would make me feel like I'm more confident and I don't need to justify myself, because sometimes you can get into that spiral of justifying yourself. But then other situations, you know that there's no hope. That person's just never going to understand what they've done wrong. And so in that situation, you just know that, okay, there could be 1% that you've said something to inflame them or done something. Just apologize and leave it at that. So I think it's just navigating which situation will have certain reactions.
Yeah, I agree. I think sorry is such a strong word, and like you guys said, you don't even have to say it, just with action. So especially in our, like my family, and normally in most families, when you fight with your parents or something, their way of saying sorry is kind of, I don't know, bringing food, bringing milk.
You were gonna say that.
Yeah. And they don't say.
For me, I feel like I need to hear it in words, even if it's
I'm the same.
If it's actions, I'm like, but I can't decipher if that's you taking accountability. I need to hear it, like I need someone to verbalize it.
But I think at the same time, because I look back and I'm similar to you, and I feel like for me, my way of, I need someone to say it for me to be able to accept it. But at the same time, for them, it's like they can't say it. They show it instead. And, you know, my mum has said that several times as well in the past. Like, my actions are showing everything that I need to say. So that should be, I think maybe from our end as well, we should try and be a bit more accepting of
different ways.
Because not everyone can be the same as us. And we can't be the same as everyone. And everything requires compromise. And also, especially when it comes to parents, obviously there's going to be a lot of things that we kind of butt heads on because we are growing up in different times. That could be one of the reasons, or you might not see eye to eye on many things. But I think when it comes to like being able to move on from situations, we need to learn how to accept their way of saying sorry, because of the fact that they are the age that they are. They're developed people already. And if anything, we're a lot more plastic than they are in terms of we can be understanding if we want to be. So yeah, I feel like from my end, reflection on myself, I hope that I can be a bit more accepting too.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because people have different ways of apologizing, and especially like I feel like when you come from a cultural tradition, a lot of these cultures don't enable you to actually express things in a verbal way. It's more through actions, and I think that's kind of the disconnect sometimes we feel, because we're in a society that allows us to speak our mind and to express ourselves, whereas some cultural traditions, they really do show it through, they show their love language is through food or just showing in different ways. So I think having that competency to understand that there's just different ways, so that's a really good point.
Yeah, it really does depend on how close you are with that person. So now we're gonna move on to the next question. I feel like getting deep, so that's why I picked these questions, because it is the month of Ramadan and I just feel like reflecting a bit more. So the second question is, who do you appreciate more as you get older? So who wants to start?
I feel like I appreciate the people around me, my parents, my family members. I feel like the more I'm getting older, especially when it comes to summertime, I really appreciate being with my family members and my little cousins, because I realized throughout the whole year I haven't really seen them. And so having that opportunity to spend time with them, to make fun memories, to make good memories, to strengthen relationships is something that I really value and appreciate. And in terms of people around me, I really appreciate people that have good character and people that strive for Islam and strive for, you know, the betterment for the community. Those people that really, really inspire me. And I feel really appreciate people that have a really good work ethic. So in terms of the concept of ihsan, that's something that I really aspire to. So ihsan means excellence, and it's supposed to be something that we're all supposed to be adopting in everything that we do. So when people do demonstrate this, I feel really inspired and I really appreciate that. So I think those two things.
That's great. Let me see if you have anything to say about Mariam.
About Mariam's thoughts, I think that's very true. Seeing other people who are working hard for their goals and seeing them strive for excellence is something that really does motivate you yourself, especially when I feel like sometimes we lack energy and we're in that dip point. It's good to see them and kind of ignite that fire within you. Like, I could also be like that and I could also strive for excellence. So yeah, I think it's great that you have that mindset.
What about yourself? What's your...
For me, I think the people that I really do and really am thankful to the most every single day is my parents, hands down. I think that I feel like I've been feeling this way for a long time, but I think as the years go on, it just kind of gets bigger and bigger. because I realise that they're getting older and I'm getting older. And when I look back at everything that I've kind of been through in life and everything that has got me to this point, them as like my backbone is what's enabled me to get to this position. Yeah. I don't know why I'm getting like teary.
It's sometimes we do take it for granted, and it really having both parents is something that we should be so thankful of, and it really does shape us as a person. You're gonna make me emotional. It really does shape us.
I feel like we don't, as much as everyone says it, like our parents are important and stuff like that. Day to day, I feel like none of us really do appreciate. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who do, but I feel like every day we should strive to really try and be that much more appreciative of what our parents have done, because if we think about it from our perspective, could we have done that for kids now at our age?
Yeah.
Because a lot of our parents were parents at this age, and then they've made all of that sacrifice and kind of, in a way, given up on their dreams so that we can go out and live our dreams. I think that's the thing that kind of gets me the most, because I think my parents both of them are just such amazing people and such smart and intelligent people. I feel like if they wanted to, then they could have done so many things with their lives. But then we kind of took away their youth almost. So I kind of feel that way, especially when they drop me off in London and I see their car driving away. I'm like, these two people are the ones that are like there for me the most.
That's very true, and I feel like one thing that you highlighted is that our parents have sacrificed everything for us. They sacrificed their dreams, and everyone has a dream, right? But they wanted to see the best for us, and they have the best interest for us, and I feel like sometimes it's so easy that you're so fixated on your goals and your dreams, and sometimes they may have a different way of thinking, but you just want to butt heads with them because they're not understanding. But they never had a chance to understand. They never had a chance to fulfill their dreams, and so you have to be a little bit more empathetic towards these people because they've given up everything. We're not even ready to give up a conversation because we don't want anything to jeopardize our dreams. So I think that's something that's really powerful, and especially in the month of Ramadan, I think it's so important to go out of your way to appreciate them. And I think that can be through different ways, just going out for a meal with your parents, or buying takeaway, or just doing something that they probably would not do on a normal day to day. Just to schedule that time is so important, because you don't know how much that will make them happy, because they won't do it for themselves. They will literally not do it for themselves. So I think going forward, especially through this month, just try to do things for your parents that just will ease in their routine, or just to make them happy.
And I feel like one thing we want to caveat this as well is that not everyone's parents may be great, or they may not have a great relationship with them. I think this message goes out to people who have, because a lot of people say what parents should do is a duty, and of course it is a duty. Like, if you are a parent, you have certain things you have to do for your child. But I guess I'm saying it to people whose parents have gone above and beyond, and most of us, our parents have gone above and beyond that basic duty of, just caring for us, giving us food and giving us shelter and making sure we have an education. Our parents have, if I think about my parents, I feel like they have gone above and beyond, and the amount of appreciation that I show for that in comparison is lacking in that sense. So I guess I'm talking from that angle.
Yeah, I feel like the people that do come from very toxic homes and unhealthy homes, I know this message might be really difficult, especially in the month of Ramadan. You might feel like, I try my best, but it just doesn't get anywhere. But just think about, just small things in your household that you are comfortable in doing. So even if it's just helping with, physical things in terms of laundry, or just cleaning up the house, or, even buying takeaway, that's something that, even if you can't sit with them because it's such an unhealthy situation, at least you felt that you've done something, and that's for the sake of Allah. So everyone's family situation is different, and I do pray for the people that have really unhealthy homes. Like, I completely empathize with you, and I hope that this month will bring healing to you. But also at the same time, we can look at prophetic tradition, we can look at history and see how our Prophet ﷺ and even the prophets before them dealt with difficult family members.
I agree. Our parents have made us their priority, kind of, and they did, like you said, they did, Let's just move on to the next question before I get emotional.
Oh, it's so deep. Sorry for crying, guys.
No,
it's okay. This is the month to cry and reflect and think about all this kind of stuff, because we do get busy with our lives. Let's just move on to the next question. So this question is a bit of a weird one. It says, would you get along with yourself?
I think so.
If I met myself,
Yeah.
I don't think I would.
I think actually no. Now I'm thinking about it, I think I might think like, oh, this person is very weird.
Yeah, I think I'm the exact person that I would get on my own nerves. You know,
I see that where that's coming from. I feel the same.
I feel like I'm the exact. If I saw myself, I'd be like, oh my god, she needs to relax. Like,
She needs to chill.
she needs to chill. Okay. But I don't know. I feel like there are parts of me that I would like, and there are parts of me that would get on my own nerves. Yeah.
The parts of us that we don't like now is the parts that we're gonna think about them. We're gonna be like, oh, I don't like this person. I really,
Good way of thinking about it.
yeah, I think I would get along with myself. I think that I'm a very extrovert person when it comes to meeting people. So yeah, I think this question I picked it out because I thought it was really funny because it says, "What's your routine when you're angry?" And the fact that there has to be like a kind of a routine when you're angry, I just found it really hilarious. So let me say, what's your routine when you're angry?
When I'm angry, it depends how angry. Depends how angry. If I'm like really quite angry, I will probably go to my room and just kind of like seethe in anger. If I'm super angry, it will be like a kind of crying type routine, that type of thing. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, Lamisa. We are coming to the end of the first half, so join us in the second half where we will be talking about reflections in relationships. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You're listening to an Inspire FM podcast, making available our popular programs from our daily broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sister Speak. You're here joined by me, Fadeen.
Me, Lamisa.
And me, Mariam.
Yep, so we are going to talk today about reflections on relationships because it is the month of Ramadan. But before we get into that, I asked Lamisa a question in the first half where we were just asking questions from these cards that are a bit reflective, a bit deep. So my question to Lamisa was, what's your routine when you're angry? And I just feel like she should delve into it a bit.
Oh, delve into it. Okay, yeah. So when I'm angry, basically if I'm super angry, I cry. And I think the reason for that is because there's so many emotions and my immediate kind of response is just letting it out through my eyes for some reason. But if I'm not too angry, but I'm still quite angry, then it's more along the lines of just kind of trying to breathe and get through my anger, basically. So yeah, luckily, I don't think it happens as often. Yeah, generally, I think I'm quite a calm person. It takes quite a lot to make me angry, I feel. What about you, Mariam?
I think mine, as we were just saying in the break, mine is definitely just crying, and I have different levels of crying. So if I'm really angry, I'll cry for a very long time. If I'm not that angry, I'll cry for a small amount of time. And if I'm like medium angry, then I'm like, okay, it's not even worth it. I'm just gonna cry for a little bit.
There's like levels of angry, and from that you just
the amount of crying.
The amount of crying.
It's positively correlating.
Like, I really feel like those schools don't teach you how to govern your emotions.
Oh, definitely.
And I feel like they don't teach you how to take care of internal wounds that people create to you. So I feel like there's something that's really missing in education because we don't know how to govern these big emotions that we feel, and everyone has these emotions. So the only way, the mechanism that we have is, well, for me, is just crying because I don't know how else to channel it.
I think also identifying these emotions. A lot of the time people don't know what they're feeling and that makes them really, really frustrated. And sometimes if you've grown up not learning how to identify what these feelings are, then that can cause issues later on in life. So I feel like also learning what particular emotions are and then learning how we deal with them would be a great start. And I think you're right, it's definitely missing in education.
Yeah, I think you learn how to deal with your emotions as you grow up. For me, I never cry when I'm angry or anything. I usually never cry, to be honest. It's something that I just find something so
Goals.
I just find it, I don't know, when people see me cry, I just feel like they see me as weak. So I never really try to cry in public. I just, cry by myself. And when I'm angry, I just shut myself off completely. I just go into my room and like shut the door, not talk with anyone. And if anyone talks to me, then you can tell that I'm like angry. I'm also a really calm person, to be honest. I don't have like an inner monster or anything. So now we are gonna delve into our main topic, which is, as I said, reflection in relationships. We're gonna discuss our relationship with friends, siblings, even like work relationships, and the most important, obviously, our relationships with ourselves in this month, and how we look to improve ourselves, improve our relationships with everyone everyone we are surrounded with. So let's just start. How do you think
Ramadan affects or changes our behaviors towards others? Because obviously in this month, everyone's trying to be at their best behavior. So who wants to start?
I think it affects it for the better, to be honest. During Ramadan, I feel like a lot of us try to be on our best behavior in terms of trying to please Allah. We try to think, and I think we think about it a lot more in terms of religion, in terms of God. We're thinking about the fact that actually this is a time where I can kind of increase the good deeds that I'm doing. And so when you do interact with people, and say if you do have a negative interaction, you're less likely to react badly. I feel like you're more accepting of others as well. You're more accepting of what people are saying, and you're more likely to kind of forgive it or brush it under the rug. And actually, it's sad that that's something that a lot of us will not do after Ramadan. And it's sad that it's something that we don't build up towards Ramadan. So it's sad that we don't keep it going. And it's a message for myself first and foremost, I guess, is what I'm saying, is that if we acted like that all the time, how much more happy would we be? How much less stressed would we be? You know, anything that anyone says, it'd be like, okay, it's not worth it, you know?
Yeah, I think, like you said, with the month of Ramadan, we just so focus on doing everything at our best behavior in that month. But we should always keep it consistent, because it's such a peaceful month, but it doesn't have to be a peaceful month just in that month. I don't know if it makes sense. So you have to, so you just have to be like peaceful all the time. And I think sometimes it's kind of made out as a joke that, you know, everyone in Ramadan is going to be in their best behavior, we're not going to talk, but it's something that we should look forward to in this month.
Yeah, I don't think it's something to be ridiculed about. It's more so we should all try and think about how we can keep it going and how we can try and practice it in the months coming up to Ramadan. And it's a reminder for me, because when this show is going, it is Ramadan, but we should be trying, like, in the months coming up to it, to really try and put those habits into practice, build those habits, so that when Ramadan comes, it's like second nature for us.
I feel like in Ramadan, everyone is just a lot more nicer, and you just feel that peace and blessings in that month so much. And I feel like it's the same people that you interact with, but somehow their hearts are softened. And I feel like if you have the capacity to do that in Ramadan, surely you can continue that after Ramadan, because that is your actions. So I feel like, especially, you know, when you actively try to make decisions for yourself and the way you nurture relationships, that's something that should be continuous, and it's something that you can adopt. And if everyone had that kind of Ramadan mentality throughout the whole year, I think we'd be a lot more happier.
Yeah.
I agree completely. Yeah. Is you know what you just said. You have to be consistent with the way that you treat others, because it's so much peaceful and so much happier. And this is the month to be peaceful, but to keep it consistent is really important. And there's obviously other relationships that we're going to talk about. So the first one, just want to dive into friendships, because it is something that we are gonna, you know, meet our friends in Ramadan, and there's certain ways that we act with our friends now that we're comfortable. And then in the month of Ramadan, you know, you have to be at your best behavior with them as well, and sometimes you will not take it as serious, I think. So I just want to ask you, Lamisa, would you say that this month is a month to strengthen your bonds of, like, friendship with your friends?
I think definitely. I think strengthen your bonds with your friends, but also kind of strengthen your connection to Islam together. I find that during Ramadan, obviously I live in uni, and for the past few years, well, my whole life actually, Ramadan season has been during exam season, like completely
I don't know why it's
coincide.
always like that.
It's not even like, because now my exams are usually like April, May, and they've gotten earlier every single year, and obviously Ramadan is going back every single year. So it's beautifully coincided with exam season every single year. And during that time, it's really nice at uni, because everyone has iftar together, everyone prays together, and you really feel kind of that sense of community. And I think during that time, especially with your friends, it's a great time to kind of invite them to Islam and invite them to regularly pray with you, invite each other to do worship together. I think that's the part that I really enjoy, because during the year you might have people around you who may not be as visibly connected to their deen, should I say. But during Ramadan, it's really that time where you all get to do it together, and it's just a very nice feeling.
I feel like there's this thing that people try to, it's like a term that they've coined, the Ramadan Muslim, and I think that's just so not helpful towards people that are trying to adopt good habits in this in Ramadan. I feel like everyone is in their own journey, and you shouldn't demonize anyone for trying to change their ways, especially if they have been a certain way throughout the whole year and they're really actively trying to change in Ramadan. I feel like, how can you be the hindrance for that? So I think it's really important to recognize that your character is a huge element of your faith, and in Ramadan it should be manifested more than ever.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I think when people are trying, it's not our place to judge. It's them as a last relationship, and with them that they have. And obviously, as you said, Lamisa, people that you seem not visibly on their deen, but they're in the month of Ramadan, they're trying their best. So why would we judge them?
Exactly. And I think it only takes one Ramadan. Maybe after that, they might regularly start continuing some of the habits that they've built up. So that's not for us to,
instead of trying to make them feel bad, why don't you be the beacon of goodness to them?
And
why don't you
them,
encourage them, and perhaps they can learn a habit from you that can be your sadaqah jariyah. So I think it's just so important to learn to govern your words and think about, if your thoughts are actually negative towards someone, then that means there's a lot of internal conflict that you need to have to resolve, because you shouldn't be thinking like that of anyone.
As much as it's important to, I agree with you, as much as it's important to strengthen your bonds with your friends, it's really important to support each other in this month and really get them closer to the deen, so you see them, in heaven. So who are you guys choosing to surround yourself in this month? And is it does it differ from last year? So how was last year's Ramadan, and who are you surrounding yourself with in this month?
Well, because it's a pre-recording, I will be starting a new job, so I will be surrounding myself with new people. And also, I think even the whole idea of working full-time and doing Ramadan, it's something that I hope that I can navigate. I feel like, again, it's just about thinking about how can I create a routine that's effective for me, because I feel like when you're younger you have the capacity to do a lot more, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that you can compare with someone else. I feel like it's about the quality, it's about the sincerity, and I think we tend to forget that it's not a competition. It's about how much you can do good in Ramadan and how much you can impact yourself and impact others. So for me, I feel like the people that I want to surround myself with is people who are trying to constantly trying to govern their character, trying to improve their character, do good for the community, and of course try to get involved in Inspire FM. So yeah, I think those are kind of the things. But I feel like, again, this month will be a sort of introspection for me, because it'll be a transition. It's going to be a very different Ramadan compared to last year, because last year I had a lot of flexibility. I spent a lot of time doing things in my own time, because I had the autonomy to do what I can in my routine, because I wasn't working full time. I feel like this Ramadan I really consciously need to do small little habits and make it consistent.
I think that's a really good attitude to go into the month with. I don't think I've ever thought about this question before in terms of who I spend my Ramadan with. And I think it's actually a really important thing to think about, because they are the people that are going to influence how much you can kind of gain through it. Because obviously, like you said, if you're by yourself and you have a lot of time, then you have a lot of autonomy over what you're going to do. Whereas if you're spending a lot of the day with other people, then that kind of does dictate to a certain extent what you can do in the day. I think this Ramadan, I'm going to try and spend it a lot with myself. I think that's what I'm going to try and do. So that way it can just be me and Allah, and hopefully try and get closer to my religion that way.
Yeah, as Mariam said, it's not a competition, it's your good deeds, it's your deen. I wanted to include this question because in all Ramadans, obviously living in Luton, there's a big community, but I felt quite lonely at times because everyone in my family was quite busy all the time. So in Ramadan, I don't even remember having a big iftar. When I lived with my dad by myself in Spain, I used to make the iftar, and you know how you're like moody when you're hungry. So it wasn't a Ramadan that I really enjoyed, to be honest. That's why I wanted to include this question. I was grateful that I was with my dad, but it's so much better when you're with your whole family. So we used to like FaceTime and open our fasts together, but it's not the same as when you're in real life. That's why I want to include this question.
So it's going to be exciting for you then?
It is going to be exciting for me. There was no really Eid in Spain as well that I could celebrate. So it's really good to be here and have like a whole community, and we're going to be fasting together so I can see how it all goes.
Yeah.
That's why I just want to.
And I feel like we're so lucky here because actually the community is something else. Being able to go to a masjid and praying with other people, or even in London where I go uni, of us as students being able to have iftar together and then pray together, even though we're all studying, even though we're all going through this, like going through it together and seeing the same faces at iftar every day and being like, oh, how was your day? Da, da, da. It's just nice to see, especially as well when we're all away from home.
The community.
And we don't have our family, but that community is really kind of keeping us together.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of data to suggest that when you are part of community and you have that sense of community, it really is linked to your both health and well-being.
Yeah, I think it really helps during that time as well, because it's physically exhausting when you're studying like God knows how many hours a day, and you know, alhamdulillah, Allah makes it easy because it is Ramadan, but it is still quite tiring. And so yeah, I think having people around you makes it so much easier, and I'm glad that you're going to be able to get through that this year.
I'm glad as well. Alhamdulillah. Obviously I was grateful for the other Ramadans that I have, but I think this one's going to be more special. I'm going to be more focused on my deen, and obviously because I wasn't surrounded by many Muslims as well, then I just felt kind of a bit left out. That's why. So now, just because we've talked about family and everything, I just want to touch upon sibling relationships too, because I think that with friends we try to be in our best behavior, but sometimes with siblings we forget about being on our best behavior as well. So for example, I'm just gonna quickly say mine. So when I'm fasting or when I'm hungry, I tend to be really rude to my siblings, and it's something that I used to do in the month of Ramadan, and now that I think about it, I'm like, why was I being so rude? They're like as hungry as me.
So I feel like this year's going to be different. I think last year was different as well because my sister's not here. So actually, yeah, I don't have that problem. No.
She's got them.
By default, I'm okay. I think for me, I become really sarcastic when I'm fasting because I'm of the type of person, like, I'm quite sarcastic, and a lot of people don't know that, but that's only when I'm really hungry. That bit just really comes out. So in Ramadan, actually, I become really, really sarcastic, and I can't really govern what I'm saying. And then, but the good thing is my parents and my family members really laugh at it because I don't realize I'm being so sarcastic, but it's just because I'm so hungry, I'm just going to think out loud. So I think maybe just to think twice before I talk in Ramadan, in every way.
I think because it's the month of Ramadan, then everyone around you kind of knows why you're moody because they're moody as well. So there's a bit of, like I was saying, I'm an antisocial era. So in my family, nobody ever talks with anyone when we're hungry because we're like hungry, like you said last time. Lamisa, what about you? How do you talk with your siblings? How do you do that?
I think this is just generally, even not just in Ramadan, but all throughout the year. I need to try and be as nice. I feel like we're so comfortable because we've grown up together and we see these people every single day, and so you don't have any type of thing that's stopping you from saying whatever you want to say. And that's why actually a lot of us, I think, get into arguments with our family, and it's so easy to get into arguments with your family because you're not stopping yourself. You will just let it rip, right? So I think that's what I'm going to try and do, is actually think about their feelings.
I think it's because we're so close to each other.
We're so close, yeah.
Yeah, that we're friends. We think twice before we speak.
Yeah, because also you know that once you've said something, maybe there's no going back from it. I feel like with friend relationships or with relationships outside of your family, it's almost like there's no coming back from certain things. Or if someone's hurt you so much, you won't be able to forgive. But I feel like with family, there's always a thing where you're like, actually, you know what, they're family. And I feel like that line kind of ends up making you forgive. And of course, there are some friends out there that are like that, some friendships where, you know, they consider each other as family. But I think it's that considering like I'm always going to forgive them, or I'm always going to talk to them. So that's why I can say whatever I want to say. So yeah, I think from now on, what I want to do is actually just try and understand from my siblings' perspective actually how they're feeling. And you don't have to get angry at everything they're saying, and you don't have to always, you know, win the argument.
I feel like that's the fun bit.
So I just wonder, I think this is really important as well with this relationship with ourselves. Obviously, relationship with Allah is really important. It's the first thing that we should think about. But how we behave, not towards other, but towards ourselves, and how we treat ourselves, I think is really important as well. So the fact that like you said, comparing, making it a competition. So it is a month of self-purification, and taking care of ourselves. So how do you guys plan on doing this in this month? Taking care of yourselves, kind of, you know, surviving Ramadan.
I think I'm going to try to read Quran a lot more in Ramadan. In fact, trying to make a sustainable habit in Ramadan, because I feel like that is the ultimate way I can purify myself in terms of engaging with the words of Allah and understanding what he has to say to me and how I can apply that to my life. And I feel like the more you read Quran is the more closer you would feel to him. And there's so much benefits of reading Quran, even in an intellectual way. The more you read Quran, the more your brain expands and the more open-minded you become. So I feel like it just has so much benefits, even spiritually healing. The Quran has such good elements of that. So I think for me, the way I'm going to try to purify myself is reading the Quran a lot more and understanding it and listening to tafsir where I can. And also one thing that I try to do every Ramadan and have been doing for the last 2-3 years probably is join the Quran Intensive by Faith Institute. This is something that's really good because I feel sometimes that when you do acts of worships alone, it's hard to continue it. But if you are doing a course or something, it just feels like you have a community with you and you have a class and you hold yourself accountable because, like you said, you hold yourself accountable whether you go or not because that person has given their time up to teach you, and so for you not to go is a disrespect to their time and the peers around you because there's discussions and you're learning together. So for me that really, really helps to gain more knowledge about Islam. And I feel like through the Quran Intensive we go through like one surah every year. So last year was Surah Furqan, which was really intense because it was a lot about the punishment, and usually we tend to shy away to listening about the punishment. So that really opened my mind out, and it made me feel closer to the Quran because it just felt like this is something that's so direct between you and Allah. Like this is His words. So I think that's my way of trying to get closer to Him.
Yeah, it's not about just reading. It's about understanding what it's saying and reading over all the ayats and being like, oh, this is what he's telling me. And with the Quran, there's so many translations available if you don't, speak Arabic or you don't understand the words. And I think with Quran, in the month of Ramadan, we have this kind of aim, which is really good to finish the Quran in 1 month. But even if you don't finish it, you have the rest of the year. And reading Quran is something that I want to include in my daily life as well, because I think I do it in the month of Ramadan, but in daily life now I really feel like I don't do it as much. I read surah before you sleep, before stuff like that, but I want to
regularly and incorporate it in your day. I was going to say the exact same thing as well, and I feel like it's good because everyone is coming to an understanding that actually we need to start reading Quran, because as much as we do other things as well, I think it's the rope from God, isn't it? And if you hold on to it, then if you read it more often, it'll be easier for you to hold on to it. And I've been thinking about it a lot recently too. I feel like it's something that for some reason we almost shy away from, maybe because we feel like we don't have a lot of time, and we're really busy with the day. But then when you think about it and put it in perspective, like how many hours do I spend on my phone reading other stuff, which is just like frankly junk. So I think thinking about it from that perspective, and also listening to it as well will also help. Download a podcast. There are loads of, on Apple Podcasts, loads of like recitations of the Quran, tafsirs of the Quran, things that you can download and you can just listen to. I feel like it's definitely a goal too. I want to start incorporating it in my daily life.
I think to make it a habit, you have to make it appealing. And if it's too difficult for you to just directly read the Quran, listening to podcast is such a great way, because it's something that is easy for you to understand, to grapple with. And if there's one app that I would recommend, it's called Quran Hive, and I was using that last year. And it has the Quran ayahs, and then it has tafsir by Norman Ali Khan. So he really explains the context of the ayah and how it was revealed. And then if you're learning Arabic, if you touch on each word, it tells you what exactly each word is. So it's actually a very good app. But I think your approach to Quran doesn't have to be the same to everyone else. Just make it appealing and attractive for you and have your own little goal.
And start off with the small steps so that you can get yourself into it a bit more.
Yeah, think of it as a little like miracle book, because everything that's there, even if you change it, the whole significance changes, the meaning of it just changes. So I just want to touch upon as well a bit of taking care of yourselves in terms of your routine in Ramadan, and how you, so sometimes I used to do this. I used to sleep my whole way to the fast, which is okay, but I want to, try to implement in this Ramadan, doing the normal things that I would do just without eating, because eating, if you think about it, it takes a lot of time, because when
much time.
When you eat with your family, I take like 3, when I come home from college or something, it takes me like 3 hours, because I just talk with them and I'm just eating and talking. That's why it takes so long. So what are you guys doing to take care of yourselves in this month?
I think the not eating aspect for me whenever I do fast is just such a actual relief, if I'm honest, because like you, eating for me hour and a half, 2 hours, because it's not just eating the actual meal, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's either talking or you're watching something or you're going up for seconds and then you'll eat another lot and stuff like that. So I feel like when you don't eat, you have that extra hour in the day, and almost like you can just continue going on with your day without any stress almost. So not that eating gives me stress, but I feel like it's the time pressures that give me stress. Whereas when I'm fasting, I feel like my mind is a lot more clear and I don't have as many time pressures. I don't know why.
It gives you clarity because you're doing something solely for the sake of Allah. Like you're not eating, and you're the only one that can hold you accountable. People can secretly eat, and no one's gonna know about it. So this is something very pure. It's a very pure act, and I feel like for me is like Farhan said, I think we tend to try to sleep it off because we just don't want to feel it. But I feel like Ramadan is much more than just the physical aspect of fasting. It's more about character development. It's about understanding discipline because you're refraining from succumbing to your desire. And I think that is such a big skill that you can use and apply to everything else, especially even with social media, right? A lot of us try to minimize our use on social media in Ramadan, if not delete it all completely. And I think it's just such a good month to cultivate good habits.
Yeah, I agree. I think every small deed in Ramadan is a big one, and we should take advantage of doing the smallest thing they always have the biggest impact, I think. So what other things are you guys doing?
I think we've discussed quite a lot, right? We want to, from a religious aspect, we want to evolve our connection with Allah, and one of the ways we want to do that is by reading Quran and incorporating that a bit more and really trying to understand it and reflect on the lessons. From an everyday type of aspect, I guess, I think for me personally, I want to try and have a bit more routine. I feel like at the moment, I'm the type of person that kind of does what they want when they want to. It works to a certain extent, but at the same time, having a routine makes it feel like you would get a lot more done. Because I feel like for me, I have bursts of energy where I can be really, really productive and other areas where I don't. But I feel like at a certain point, it's not just about how much productivity you have when. There's also an act of discipline that comes into it. And having a routine helps to cultivate that aspect of discipline. And yeah, actually just developing that self-discipline is something I really want to get through in Ramadan.
Yeah, like for me, it's just about sustainability. I just want to really cultivate habits that I can do throughout the whole year, especially because I'm going to be practically on a practical level because I'm transitioning jobs. I feel like I just want to do something that's small and something consistent.
Okay, sorry to cut you off, Mariam, but we are coming to the end of the show. It was great catching up with you guys. I just want to say Ramadan Mubarak once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.